Hey everyone, thank you for watching. So today's video is going to be a new declutter. This is going to be my face palette declutter. So here is a little overview of my face palettes or like my face duos. I don't have my blush palettes in here because I will put those in my blush collection declutter, which I usually do with my bronzers. But these are all of my face palettes. I did a recent chopping block video talking about 8 different products that, I was considering decluttering, and I focused on face palettes and also highlights. And I asked in there which one you guys wanted to see, and face palettes really won out. Like that was the overwhelming vote was for face palettes. So if you haven't seen that video, I will link it down below. But this is what my face palette collection looks like. I'm excited to do some decluttering today. So why don't we go ahead and jump into it. Alrighty, so if you're interested in catching more of my declutters, I'll have my playlist linked down below. And I do like to say with my decluttered makeup, if it's old, expired, almost gone, something like that, then I would toss that. But if it's in good condition, I might pass it along to friends and family. If I received it in PR, I do not sell my PR. That's typically what gets passed along. But if it's something that I bought myself and it's still in good condition, I might put it up on my Poshmark. So I'll have my Poshmark closet listed down below. I am pre-filming because I am going on vacation this month, so I'm not exactly sure where this video, when it's gonna go up, and if I will be home to get all these products up on my Poshmark, if any of them are going up there. So if you don't see them yet, it's probably because this went up while I'm on vacation and I am not home yet to put them up, but they will be going up on my Poshmark at some point if I have any of them that kind of fall into that category. Also, as I've been saying in a few of my declutters, we are in the process of moving and my house is packed up. So if you follow my channel for a while and you notice there's a face palette that is not included in here, I have probably just misplaced it somewhere or can't find it. That happened multiple times over in my lipstick declutter, but I really went searching for all of my different face palettes. This is what I could find, and hopefully this is all of them. But I did want to note that for people who, continually watch my videos and know a lot of what's in my collection. But okay, so to jump into it, I have this palette here from Pure. This is the Contour Diaries palette. Inside you have this nice mirror, you have setting powder shades, a contour, bronzer shades. This is in my February Shop to My Stash, and I just simply love this palette. If you can see the imprint of the pan on this one right here, this is what I use as a setting powder under my eyes. That's very, very rare for that to happen for me. I love that powder. I also use this as a contour. I use this as a bronzer. Just generally one of my favorite palettes, so definitely will be keeping that one. I'm a little bit nervous for this declutter because I love face palettes. So we'll see how I do. Okay, so I have this one here from Marc Jacobs. This is the Hi-Fi Filter Instamark. So inside you have this really nice compact, you have a mirror, and then you have a setting powder and also a bronzer in here. Now I like this palette and I've used both sides quite a bit, but I have something really similar to it in this Wet n Wild contouring palette, and honestly, I reach for my Wet n Wild more. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pass this one along because I just feel like I have something so similar to it, and I honestly reach into the Wet n Wild more. I feel like the shades just suit me a little bit better in the Wet n Wild. The Marc Jacobs is a little bit more on the yellow side for the powder, and then the bronzer is just a little bit darker. I typically come into this Wet n Wild as a contour shade, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and put the Marc Jacobs in the pass pile. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this one from Wet n Wild. I really like this so much, and it's like $5. This is a great setting powder, and it's also really brightening. This one is in Dolce de Leche. I think they have one other shade too. And then I really do like this as a contour powder. This is my second one. I broke the first one because I was traveling with it, and I went out immediately and repurchased this because I think it's so nice and it's super affordable. So I will go ahead and keep that one. All right, I have this one here from Ofra Cosmetics. This is the Midi palette in Toasted Cashmere. So this was one of their holiday releases, I believe it was, this past year. So you have a mirror, then you have 3 different shades inside. So you have a blush, a highlight, and a bronzer. This palette is beautiful. I've said such great things about it. I love the Ofra highlights. I think that they are stunning, but also you get a really nice blush and bronzer in here. This one is not going anywhere. I enjoyed this one so much, so I will be keeping that one. All right, this one here was in my chopping block video. This is from a ColourPop. This is in House of Mirrors. So this is a duo, and inside you have a bronzer and a highlight, and it just comes in this nice little compact here, and you do also have a little mirror in it. So I really did like the highlight in here. I thought the highlight was really nice. The bronzer I thought was pretty good too. Not my favorite bronzer, but I really did like the highlight, but I just don't reach into this duo a ton. It immediately went off sale on the ColourPop website, which I was pretty disappointed in because I was wearing it really consistently consistently. And, you know, I always link my makeup in my YouTube videos, and I feel so bad when I'm wearing products that you can't find anymore and people are wanting something, and, you know, just is kind of a bummer. So I just really am not reaching for it a ton, and I think that I can pass it on. I think that I can go ahead and do it. I think I'm going to be keeping plenty of face palettes. I have single bronzers, I have single highlights, etc. So that is going to go in the pass pile. Next up here, I have this one from Smashbox. This is the Cali Contour Palette. I purchased this palette a few months back because it was getting such great reviews. So you have a nice mirror in it, and then again, you have a variety of shades. You have contour, bronzer, blush. There's some highlights in here. This can be used as a setting powder. And I really like this palette. Oh, okay, so I'm trying to think, and I'm kind of looking over my other face palettes. Honestly, I'm going to keep this one. I get so much use out of it. I travel with it. I love having a contour, a bronzer, blush, and highlights, and if I need to, you know, to have this setting powder or brightening powder. I really do reach into this one quite a bit, so I do want to go ahead and keep my Cali Contour from Smashbox. Smashbox also has just really nice face products as well. This one here is from MAC. So this is this is the Studio Fix Sculpt and Shape Contour Palette. Okay, I really, really like this palette too. Okay, so it has a nice mirror in it. Again, you have setting shades, and then you have some contour and bronzer shades. Middle shade I use for contour a lot. This one I use for bronzer. I love this contour shade. I reach for it so much. I think I featured this palette in a Makeup Monthly video in my favorite section, and I really do reach for it so often. I feel like that contour is just like so natural, so easy to work with. The setting powders can be nice brightening powders as well. I like that we have bronzers in here. I really, really do reach for this one a lot, so I really want to keep this one. Ooh, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be a tough one. Okay, alrighty. So next up, I have this one here from Sigma. This is the Sculpt. It's a highlight and contour palette. So Sigma came out these face palettes earlier this year. There's also a blush one, but it does have 6 different blushes in it. So I did keep that one for my next blush collection declutter. So you have a mirror in it, and then you have these different shades in here. So you can contour, you can bronze, and then you can also highlight. Once again, I really like this palette. Oh my goodness. It's like, do I really need to keep all of these? I do. Okay, so I like this. Here's what I'm gonna do. I like this for contour, but this isn't a great shade match for me in a lot of different areas. Like the bronzer is a little bit too deep for me. Obviously this bronzer is too much for me. And these two highlights are kind of dark. This one still looks pretty, but I think because of that, I can go ahead safely and pass this one on. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do, because really I only go in mostly for these 2 shades. And obviously I know I'm going to be keeping a lot of face palettes, so I really do like this. I think it's nice quality. I did get this sent over to me from Sigma, so you know, I'll pass it along to a friend or see if someone else can use it. But I feel like because I'm only using 2 shades out of there, I should go ahead and pass it on. So that's going to go in the declutter pile. That's kind of hard. Okay, this next one here is from Nars. This is the Veil palette. So I believe this was a limited edition palette. I'll try to link everything in my description box. Normally with declutters, I link like whatever's still in stock and whatnot. Or obviously like I list it out and then link it. I don't have to, like, it's not like my lipstick declutter where I had 225 to get through, but you can check the description box if you're interested in these. But I'm pretty sure this one was a limited edition holiday release last year. But inside you have the Nars Laguna bronzer, and then you have a blush and a highlight. This was in my January Shop to My Stash, and I used it so much. I love the Laguna bronzer. There was like some lip imprints on there, and they're really, really faded because I reach in for this bronzer so often. The blush is a little bright for me, but the highlight's really pretty. But especially, I do not have the Laguna bronzer as a single, so I will continue to keep this palette around because I enjoyed the Laguna bronzer so much. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep that one. Okay, so I have this one here from Nars. This was also in my chopping block video. This is the Wanted 1 face palette. And I had to go get my tweezers to open this because I cannot open Nars palettes. So inside you have some blushes. I use this one as a highlight shade, so that's why I thought I would include it in here. This you can get away with the highlight or like as a blush topper. You do have a nice mirror. I really struggled with this one when I was talking about it in the chopping block video because I said I really like this one. I gave it really high remarks, but I just don't reach in for it a ton. And I don't reach in for all of these shades at the same time. You know, I really do like these two. This one was a fun cool tone blush to wear sometimes, but I didn't wear it a ton. So I was mostly using this as a blush, this as a highlight. And then I wasn't using the other shades super often. I think that I can pass this on to someone and they will like it and get so much more use out of it. Again, I'm already keeping a lot of face palettes are in my keep pile. I have a lot of blushes. I have a lot of beautiful single blushes. So as much as I really enjoyed this palette at one time, if I'm not getting use out of it, I think that I can give it to someone who will, and they would be really happy with it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put that in the declutter pile. Woo, that's hard. Woo, that's hard. Okay. Next up here, I have this one from Too Faced. So this is a little face duo. This is the Pineapple Paradise Strobing Bronzer in Pineapple Sun. Inside you have a bronzer and then you also have a highlight. I actually really do like this. I purchased this myself from Ulta and I really got on with it. The bronzer is kind of more of a glowy bronzer, which I've been more into these days. I used to be only into matte bronzers, but now I like a good glowy bronzer. And the highlight is a pretty gold. It can get a little dark, but really not too much for my skin. And I continue to reach for this one quite a bit, so I'm actually going to go ahead and put that one in my keep pile. I have this one here from Too Faced. This is the Natural Face Palette. This is another one I can't open. Ugh, okay, here we go. So inside you do have a nice mirror. You have a mixture of blushes, bronzers, and then also highlight shades. I really, really like this palette. This was this the first palette that I purchased from Too Faced after I kind of went off from like not buying from them from over a year. I purchased this palette and I was super impressed with it. I actually like the bronzers probably the most in this palette, but I love this blush too. I think it's beautiful and I like to mix in these highlights. I still feel like I'm getting some pretty decent use out of this palette. I like the packaging of it and I really use the majority of the shades in here. So I'm still gonna go ahead and hold on to my Too Faced palette. I have this one here from Becca Cosmetics. So this one is the Après-Ski Glow Face Palette. This was a holiday release last year or 2 years ago. I can't quite remember. But beautiful Becca packaging for the face palettes. Nice mirror in here. You have bronzers, you have some highlight shades, and then also a blush. I just really get on with my Becca face palettes. I really do. I use the majority of the shades in here. The only thing that's a little bit dark for me is this highlight right here, but the bronzer is beautiful, blush is beautiful. I have some highlights in here to choose from. And I really get on with these palettes so much and still reach for them. So I'm going to keep that one from Becca. And then the other one that I have from Becca is the one in collaboration with Jaclyn Hill, the Champagne Glow Face Palette. So you have 2 highlights in there, a bronzer and 2 blushes. Again, still a beautiful palette, still one that I reach for. I've been decluttering a lot of my Becca single highlighters, or like I have some on the chopping block as well for my highlight declutter. So I like the idea of having some still in these face palettes. So we have Champagne Pop and Prosecco Pop, which I still really enjoy. So I'm going to continue to hang on to my Becca face palettes. I just think that they are super nice. I have this one here from Natasha Denona. This is the Mini Blush and Glow palette. But inside you have a little mirror and then you have a blush and a highlight. This is actually in my February Shop to My Stash, so I'm definitely going to be keeping this around since it's in that video right now. But this is a really pretty glowy blush. The highlight is a little more on the subtle side, but I still think that it's really pretty. I use it for inner corner highlight quite a bit as well, but definitely since it's, you know, in my Shop My Stash, I'm gonna go ahead and keep that one too. Okay, I also realized that I put my Ofra Glow Up in here. This is an all highlight palette, so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and take this one out. So if you saw the Ofra palette, you're like, wait, what happened there? I didn't want to like just remove it, but that one is all highlights. So I'll just wait until the highlight collection declutter to put that one in there. But to keep it rolling, so this is the Saharan Blush Palette Volume 2. I have used this shade as a bronzer, and then you have some different highlights in here. This one has some shimmer to it that can be used as a highlight. This one also does have some shimmer to it. I just am not reaching into this one enough. I had the other blush palette as well, which the shades just didn't suit me as great. And then these are all a little bit on the darker side for me too. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that one in the declutter pile. I just don't think it's best match for my particular skin tone. This one here is from Zoeva. This is the Basic Moment palette. So inside I use it as a contour, and then you have a blush and a highlight. I recently just reviewed this in a first impression follow-up video, and I really, really like this palette. I am definitely going to be hanging on to this one. I was very impressed with it. So this one here is from Kevyn Aucoin. It came in like a larger book with 3 different, like how it says chapter 1, there was 3 different chapters. And I've decluttered the other ones, but this one is the contour. And I definitely want to keep it mostly because of this sculpting powder. This is such a well-known product from Kevyn Aucoin, and I really enjoy it so much. There's also a highlight and a bronzer in here. I mostly am reaching into it for the contour, but I just don't want to get rid of it. I enjoy it so much, so I will be keeping that one there. And then also this one from Kevyn Aucoin. So this is a little bit of a larger book. Again, you have the sculpting powder in here too. You have highlights, you have a cream contour, cream highlight, and then 4 eyeshadows. I am going to go ahead and declutter this one. I've been hanging on to it for the longest time. I believe this was the first PR I ever got from Kevyn Aucoin, and I was so excited about it. Again, I really love this sculpting powder, but I have something a little bit smaller that I can reach in for. I don't use the eyeshadows a ton, so I think that I can go ahead and pass this on to someone who will use it even more. So that's really hard for me to do, but you know, the move is really encouraging me as well to declutter a bit more. This one here is from Urban Decay. This is the Naked Cherry face palette. So you have a blush inside and 2 highlighters. I really did not get on with this palette. I didn't like it very much. I didn't like the highlighters. The blush was okay, but I was pretty disappointed with this one actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass this on to someone. I did get that NPR from Urban Decay, so I'll pass that on to someone. Alrighty, so we have 2 left. So this one here is from Hourglass. This is the Ambient Lighting Unlocked 4, Volume 4 palette. I really like this one. I reviewed this one recently as well. So you have some finishing powders in here, bronzer, blushes, highlights. I really do like this. I reach for the bronzer the most out of here. I think that it's really beautiful, but I do like the blushes. The finishing powders are nice. I don't love the highlight, to be honest, but I quite like this palette. I do think that it's really, really pricey at $80, but I do continually reach in for it, especially for that bronzer. So I will be keeping this one from Hourglass. And then finally we have another one that was mentioned in my chopping block video. This is from Smashbox. This is the Holidays Contour and Spotlight palette. I purchased this one just a couple months ago, and I feel really silly wanting to declutter it already, but I do not reach into this a lot. You have contour, you have bronzer, you have highlights in here. This is more of a setting powder. I am just not reaching into this, and I reviewed it recently. I said that I purchased it on sale. I think the sale price, you know, really kind of talked me into purchasing it, but I listened to your feedback on the chopping block video. It was kind of split. You know, some people were saying, you know, you should just keep it and it's still a nice compact and it's good for traveling. And other people were like, girl, if you're not using it, get rid of it. And honestly, I'm just not using it. So I did purchase this myself so I could put this up on my Poshmark and all of that fun stuff. But I feel a little bit silly, but I am just not reaching for this one. So I'm going to make the decision to go ahead and put that one in my declutter pile, but I'll pull everything out and we will see how I did. Alrighty guys, so these are the palettes that I'm decluttering. I'm decluttering 8 face palettes slash duos. And then this is everything that I'm keeping. I'm keeping 14 palettes slash face duos. So not like my most cutthroat declutter I've ever done, which doesn't shock me, but looking at everything I kept, I'm really happy with everything I kept. You know, I'm kind of looking back over this like, is there anything that I could possibly get rid of? I really don't want to. I really like everything that I have kept, and I don't feel bad about, you know, passing any of these along. I feel like I can get them to better homes and people that will be using them more. So I'm really happy with this declutter. I'm glad that I did it. Again, thank you to everyone who watched that chopping block video and for your feedback on it. I hope you enjoyed seeing a face palette declutter. Stay tuned. My highlight declutter will be next month, but as always, if you guys did enjoy this one, I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up. I hope that you also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video.